Your plumbing business name can even make it much easier for you to grow in the next 5 years or 10 times harder. A bad name will create friction and hold you back each month, and a good name snowballs over time by making everything easier. In this video, we're going to cover what to avoid, how you can get the most out of your name, and examples of each one. Make sure you understand the theory first, as that will be the most important step to help you come up with your own name. Then we'll look at some examples. So what actually makes a good name? A good plumbing name isn't about sounding clever. While these things are always nice to see, it's not about having an alliteration or trying to be creative. That's because your business name isn't here to impress your secondary school English teacher. Grammatical rules won't decide if the name gets you more customers or your business fails. So who does matter when it comes to your business name? There are three parties that are the most important when naming your plumbing business. There are your customers, Google, and you. And how much they matter is split like this. Your customers, 20%, Google, 70%, and you, 10%. So let's break down each one. When someone needs a plumber, they're usually stressed. They want something that clearly looks like a trusted plumbing business. That decision is made within a second. That's how fast the subconscious mind is deciding whether this is a safe decision or not. That first impression is what really matters. Your customer doesn't want to guess and risk a cowboy plumber turning up. Does it mean that every plumbing business behind a pretty name is trustworthy? No. But do humans think about that when they make a decision that lasts a total of 1 second? No, they just decide. So if your name doesn't clearly communicate what you do, you're creating a lot of friction for your customers. But here's the truth. Customers are not actually the most important factor, because most customers forget your name a week after the job. The name mostly matters here just to get your foot through the door when they're picking a business, so they can take the next action of calling you. Now we'll jump into Google, which matters way more than your customer. With 98% of homeowners using their phone to find local businesses, Google is still one of the biggest sources of customers for your plumbing business. And for a local service business, that means one thing. You want to show up as high as possible in Google. One of the easiest ways plumbing businesses shoot themselves in the foot before they even start is choosing a name that makes it harder for Google and customers to understand what they actually do. You always want to stack the advantages in your favor. Take this example. Someone searches Phoenix Plumbers and they're based in Phoenix, Arizona. There are two brand new businesses, all things equal. Which one is more likely to show up? Phoenix Plumbers or Aquatech Services Ltd? You already know the answer. The first business clearly tells Google what they do and where they do it. The second business could be anything. They could offer window cleaning. They could sell water pistols. Are they in Scotland or US? Those are big gaps to leave, and they don't answer the question to Google your customer. Now here's the interesting part. Google absolutely understands that when someone searches Phoenix Plumbers, they might be looking for a list of all plumbers in Phoenix. But Google also can't be certain that the person isn't specifically looking for a business called Phoenix Plumbers. So if there is a legitimately registered plumbing company called Phoenix Plumbers in that city, that business becomes extremely relevant for both interpretations of the search. They match what you're searching for, plumbers, they match where you're searching from, Phoenix, and they match the exact wording you used in the search, Phoenix Plumbers, Phoenix Plumbers. Personally, that's the biggest advantage you can have in Google when your customers are trying to find you. And from personal experience, I can tell you that I've seen names like this get favored time and time again. It's almost unfair to the competition, but it's completely legal and allowed by Google. In the most extreme cases, I've seen a single business effectively take up the whole search result for that category. Why? Because instead of showing a list of 30 plumbers with the sponsored results, the local maps listings, and the websites, Google interpreted that one query as someone looking for that specific business entity for that whole area. That changed from showing different businesses to just that one business's Google business profile and their website. Think about how powerful that is. Without paying for ads, without paying thousands on SEO, just by structuring the name correctly from day one. Google's job is to show the most relevant result. If your business name directly matches what people are typing, you dramatically increase your chances of being seen as the most relevant result for that source. Now, there's a line. You can't stuff your name with spam. You can't register something like Mike's Plumbing, Best 24/7, Emergency No Call Out Fee London as a name. That's obvious manipulation. But you absolutely can have a business like London Plumbing Co. or 24/7 Plumbing Phoenix. As long as that's your legitimately registered business name in your country and you can prove it's your official name, Google tends to allow it. What definitely doesn't work though is having a completely different registered name and then trying to add locations and keywords on the end just to rank better. That's when you're going to run into problems with Google. In the UK, even through our government, it's completely legal to register a name that describes what you do and where you do it. So things like Oxford Bathrooms, Somerset Plumbing. These are just descriptive names. You're not trying to manipulate the government or any algorithms. You are actually allowed to register a name like that. They're clean names and they're legitimate, and Google understands that. If that's genuinely your registered business name and you're not clearly stuffing it with spam, you're usually within the guidelines, which I will also include down below. I recommend checking them out. They're helpful. But there is still a line to respect. The closer you fly to the sun, the more likely you are to get burnt. So keep it reasonable, but the advantage of a strong descriptive name compounds across every area of your plumbing business. That's why it's so worth it. Just don't cross into obvious manipulation, as Google will be on your case. Now, the last person that matters is unfortunately you. You do need to like the name. You are the one building the business. It is going on your vans, your uniforms, your logo. And it should be something you're proud of. I completely understand why that matters to you. But this is also where business owners can get emotional. Some of you might watch this and realize that the name you've been attached to could actually hurt you long term. And the decision you have to make is, do you choose the name you feel attached to or the name that gives your business an actual real advantage? Because when you're struggling to get customers, if you're just starting out 5 years down the line, the fact that you like the name now won't make any of those problems easier when you get to them. So a lot of ideas can feel great in the moment, but 5 years later, you might not even like it anymore. So don't make the next 5 years harder because of a short-term attachment. Try to find a name that gives your business an actual real advantage and that you can feel and learn to grow into over time. Now that you know the rules and guidelines that we're operating in, let's take a look at some examples of names to definitely avoid. Don't go for names like Aquaflow, Carter & Sons, Mike the Pipe Layer, Dave the Plumber, Superior Solutions Services Ltd. These are all common names and examples of different things that people put together to put a business name together. Some of these names might sound nice and at first glance they look like fancy business names, but they will hold you back massively against your competition. And they're all making some core mistakes that we'll go over now. You want to avoid overly creative names. These names, they sound great, but they actually sound better than they perform. Things like Aquaflow. We'll cover why they might sound cool, not a good name. Vague names. Names that don't tell anyone what you do. These are generic names like Expert Solutions Systems Ltd. It's just a bunch of words that don't say anything about what you do, where you do it, and they don't make your brand look strong. Also, things like personal names. They can be a trap. Now, I'm not saying they can't work. These can work, but they're more suitable for building a plumbing brand around them, not necessarily a local plumbing business. So you have to consider, you might start off slow and you might be tempted to call yourself something like Dave the Plumber. But if things go well, which is really your goal for things to go well, you might eventually hire people. And do you want to build a business that is built around you as a person? It's not a wrong answer, it's just a personal choice. Things like this can make it harder later on. And when it comes to selling your business or growing, it might also confuse your customers. So it's just something to take into consideration if that's the route you go down. Another massive mistake is having services and Ltd in your business name. It's a massive thing that a lot of businesses do. So many service-based businesses add services to the end of their names. It's the same as adding business to the end of your name. People already know you're a business. Your name doesn't have to include it. Same with the services part. You most likely provide services as a service-based business. Any words you include that don't benefit you in any way are just dead weight that dilute the strength of your brand and business. Additionally, adding things like Ltd, that's for your accountant, that's for the government, not for your customers. Legally, it's part of your name, but you don't actually need to use it in your logo or your website or on your van. You can state on your website your full registered name with the LTD and mention that you're just trading as your standard name without the LTD. Adding LTD makes you look cheap. It makes you look unprofessional too. Your customers definitely don't need to see the legal structure of your business. Let's look at what makes a strong name for your plumbing business. A strong plumbing name usually includes these two core factors. If you get these right, you've already put yourself ahead of the majority of plumbers. What you do, you have to mention that you do plumbing or that you're a plumber. That's the specific category that Google will recognize you by. Now, if you're a bathroom renovations only business, you don't want to mention plumbing or plumber. You want to mention bathroom renovations. It won't sound like the fanciest business name, but that's because you want to maximize your chance of how often and likely you will show up at the top, not how it sounds when a human says it. Now, the next factor is where you do it. The town, the city, or the county you're in. If you don't know which one to choose, let's quickly run through some examples. The location you include in your name should be based on these two things: where you operate and how wide you want to grow. If you're in a small UK town and you plan to serve roughly a 10-mile radius around it, just use the town name. That gives you the strongest advantage in that town and all of those little surrounding villages. If you're, for example, in an even smaller town somewhere and you don't think you're going to get enough customers in that small town, but you want to serve a wider area, you can use the county level modifier. As long as you're happy serving a wider area, that county level modifier will give you a wider reach than that town which might not have enough customers. You don't want to lock yourself into a tiny location if your service area is actually much wider, but you still want to get an advantage by using a location modifier. Now, if you're in a major UK city like London or Manchester, just use the city. In most cases, that's more than enough, and it's more than some businesses do. The key point with location modifiers is finding the balance between where you're starting and where you want to end up. You might be starting from a small town, but in the future want to serve most of the towns in that county. We have pretty small towns in UK, so just go with the county modifier in that example and don't limit yourself to that specific town you're starting out. Yes, at first when you have no customers, going with just the town modifier would help you more to get those first 2, 3, 4, 5 customers. But after 6 months, after a year, and that you've had the ball rolling, that tiny location modifier will only limit you, so it's not worth it. Let's quickly look at some examples of good names that will give your plumbing business the biggest advantage. You want to go for things like London Plumbing Co., Devon 24/7 Plumbing, Phoenix Plumbing, Manchester Plumbers. Do you see the similarity? They sound boring and straightforward, but they have the biggest advantage for your plumbing business over the next 5 years. And despite the fact that they're boring, you can still get a really good logo with one of these names. You can still get a really great van wrap. You can still get really, interesting uniforms. They just might not have that jazz name like Aquaflow, but they will keep your phone ringing. And if that's more important to you, then that's the name you want to go with. Now that you've watched this video and understand how to get the most out of your plumbing name, you have an advantage over other plumbers that just chose random names when they started out. Most plumbing businesses in your area had no idea about SEO or Google when they started. They just chose a name they liked and then they struggled with it for the next 3 years trying to make everything work. You now understand how to pick one strategically and make it work from the start. So don't underestimate how much easier a strong name makes everything. Some plumbing businesses spend thousands each month trying to get to the top. You can make it a fraction of the cost with the right amount of effort and knowing how these rules work. If you like this video and want more marketing tips for plumbers, drop a like. These videos take a long time to make and they're free. And if you have any questions about your plumbing business, just drop a comment below and hopefully that helps you out. Pick a name for your plumbing business.